Hello everybody, so today I'm going to do a bit of analysis about Amber Heard's games that she's playing. Now I'm going to start, as I always do with analysis, with proven facts. And I'm going to work my way down through things that we can theorise and work out. So, proven facts related to her playing games. Number one is that Chris Boozy and Bot Central were hired to work for her. Now, he's only admitted to being hired as an expert witness, but we can reasonably assume that he has also been hired as some kind of a internet hitman or hired gun, that he's going after people. He certainly has been going after people, and we can say that he is either extremely unethical as an expert witness, or this is what he's doing, as in this is what he was paid to do. Either extremely unethical, should be banned from Twitter, shouldn't be allowed to be an expert witness for anyone ever again. One option. Second option, this is what he's doing, this is his job, he's a fraud, and so forth. And should be banned from Twitter. And really, realistically, shouldn't have access to the API if he's behaving in such an unethical way. I think we can say quite clearly that either way, either side that we're doing it, we're looking at somebody that is not the person that he's claiming to be. I don't see any way that he is as he claims to be, that he's this person that's standing up for the little guy, that he's stopping bullying, all that sort of stuff. I can't see any way that that could be possible. Now, we also have people who have admitted in various texts to being involved in supporting Amber Heard, and this is besides Chris Boozy. These other people who have been involved in supporting Amber Heard by calling police, calling child services and so forth. And that is included against that umbrella guy, but also against a guy called Paul Baresi and others. And we also have people like Eve Barlow, and who has made various newspaper articles and so forth, essentially lying about Amber Heard, and she lied in court. She got kicked out of the court because she dishonestly got one of Johnny Depp's witnesses removed, and she's continued that abuse on Twitter and so forth. And there's been other people that have behaved in a similar way. Now, are people on Johnny Depp's side behaving in this way? It doesn't appear so. Certainly nothing that's being shown publicly. Now, maybe they are, maybe there's someone doing something, but certainly that's not something that I've been made aware of, or anyone else that I know of has been made aware of. That Johnny Depp's side is not doing this, Amber Heard's side is doing this. So Johnny Depp's side do not have people going after people on Amber Heard's side. And the other thing is, the people that Amber Heard's side are going after are not on Johnny Depp's side. These are neutrals. These are people who simply reported on the case. And I need to clarify this, because the people who were hired by the court to do the live streaming was the Law and Crime Network. Right, so the Law and Crime Network are a bunch of neutral lawyers. Now, they haven't been targeted, but they are loosely affiliated with lawtube, which are a group of lawyers and legal analysts that use YouTube. Now, the only difference, or the major difference between the people on lawtube and the people on Law and Crime, is the people on lawtube are more about entertaining and making money. So they want to entertain their viewers and make money out of it. Whereas lawtube just presents the facts and they don't get too excited about it. They have a little bit of analysis, but most of their videos, so most of lawtube's videos get like 50 views. People don't bother with it. It's more used by lawyers, who then run their own channels and whatever when they see something interesting. So basically, lawtube feeds into Law and Crime to present the same material but in a more interesting way. So there is an affiliation there. But that doesn't mean that Law and Crime are Johnny Depp fans, far from it. In fact, they report on every case going. So do lawtube. Lawtube report on every case. And for them to miraculously be Johnny Depp fans is ridiculous. They're not. These people are not Johnny Depp fans. Right? So when we're talking about Amber Heard's people going after members of lawtube, they are going after neutral commentators. Now, they did choose, they said who they thought was in the right. They do that for every case. And in fact, so did Law and Crime. Law and Crime went through the case and they looked at both sides, they interviewed people from both sides and all that, and they concluded towards the end, the majority view of people from Law and Crime was that Johnny Depp was right, and that Amber Heard was likely to lose her case. Now, before the very end, they were still talking about the possibility that Amber Heard could win. But right at the end, they said, well, we now think that Johnny Depp will win. And people on lawtube said the same thing. People on lawtube were primarily saying throughout the case they thought Amber Heard would win. And I followed a lot of them. They were saying, oh, we think Amber Heard will win. And not because they thought Amber Heard was in the right, but because the law was on her side. And it was only towards the end that they started to see, oh, well, actually, Johnny Depp might win this. For Emily Baker, I remember Emily D. Baker reported on it and said, on the very last day, she said, I now think Johnny Depp will win. The day before that, she'd said she thought he would lose. And there were many other people on lawtube that thought Amber Heard was going to win. So these are not Johnny Depp fans. If you're a Johnny Depp fan, you'd be saying from the start that Johnny Depp's definitely going to win. These people did not say that. Now, for Amber Heard's team to go after neutrals like that it's not what you do if you're going to intimidate people into not testifying. You don't go after neutrals, you go after Johnny Depp's side. Now, the other thing is, the case has been finished, it's been won, and they're up to the appeal stage if it goes ahead. And again, I'm not convinced that it will go ahead, or at least not from Amber Heard's side. Johnny Depp's side might well be allowed to appeal, but I don't think Amber Heard's side will. Who knows, I might be wrong, but it doesn't look like it to me. And it doesn't look like they're really trying to have an appeal heard. So the question then is, why are you intimidating people? And why are you not intimidating Johnny Depp's side? If she was sending people to intimidate Johnny Depp's side and intimidate the witnesses that he'd called before the trial so that they wouldn't testify, or so they'd testify in the wrong way, or so that they'd drop the case, that's a mafia tactic. That's one people use outside of mafia, and it makes sense. But why are you doing it when the case has already been finished and you're at the appeal stage? Mafia don't do that at the appeal stage. And why are you doing it against neutrals? Mafia wouldn't do it to neutrals. These are people neutrally commenting. Why are you bothering? And the simple answer is, this is not to do with the appeal. This has nothing to do with the appeal. This is not to do even with the result of the case. Rather, and what this is actually about is because public perception against Amber Heard has changed. So when the case began, if you were looking up Amber Heard and you were looking up how she was viewed, you'd probably have seen that the majority of people supported Amber Heard and opposed Johnny Depp, at least with that issue. It was around about 80% support of Amber Heard. And you were seeing that reflected in lawtube, in Law and Crime and so forth. And as the trial continued, as it progressed, we saw those numbers change. We saw them change from 80% support of her down to 50%, and in the end only 5%. So those changed as the trial progressed. Now, she's claimed that this is because of Twitter, because of social media, because of influencers. But what actually caused those changes was because of people following the trial, hearing the facts, seeing the evidence. And it had nothing to do with whether Emily D. Baker, Andrea Burkhart, Nate the lawyer, and all these other lawtube people, these are not influencers, these are lawtube, these are lawyers. It had nothing to do with whether or not they decided that they supported Johnny Depp. If they had opposed Johnny Depp, it wouldn't have mattered because they were looking at the facts, at least the public facts. They weren't necessarily looking at the bits that weren't shown to everybody, although they got a hold of them later and we now have access to them. And the reason why we were only shown as much as the jury was shown, was partially at least to make sure that the jury, if they happened upon it, didn't get influenced. And so we are watching that, and we don't get to hear all the sidebars and all that. But now we do. We've seen them. You can get them available now. There's probably some things that are not available. But so why go after these people? You're not going to win a court case based on that. In fact, it's going to hurt your appeal. And in fact, I'd say she's not seriously going ahead with the appeal, based just simply on what's in her appeal and the poor way it was displayed, and by people that are proper appeal specialists and who should know better. So why then is she doing this? If she's not aiming at her appeal, what is she aiming at? Why isn't she going after Johnny Depp's team or the actual Johnny Depp fans? Why not go after them? And the reason is, if she went after just the Johnny Depp fans, that's probably 5%. And went after the actual trolls, that's probably 5%. That wouldn't make any difference to her popularity. Wouldn't make any difference. She'd still have 95% of people that hate her. But if she pretends that the neutral 90%, or yeah, about 90%, there's probably 5% Johnny Depp fans, 5% Amber Heard fans. The 5% Johnny Depp fans, there's no point going after them. They're Johnny Depp fans, they're not going to stop. And there's no point going after, the 5% Amber Heard fans, they're going to stay loyal to her no matter what. Pretty much anyone who's loyal to her still is one of her fans. There's unless she's paid them or something, because the evidence is just so overwhelming. So 90% neutral is what she's going for. And her aim in that is that if she can discredit the neutrals, as many as she can, it will sway the ledger. If she can discredit all the neutrals, all that there'll be left are her fans. And 100% of her fans support her. There you go, 100% support. It'll change the way she's viewed. Now, she can't go after all of them. Can't go after Law and Crime. Can't go after Emily Baker and Andrew Burkhardt. Tried, but failed. But she's still going after a few, what she can, because that will aim to improve her public relations. So this is essentially a public relations exercise. So that's what Chris Boozy's doing. That's what these other people are doing. They're aiming to discredit people, potentially to ruin their lives, or at least damage their careers and all that sort of stuff, so that she can look a little bit better. Now that's beyond what Mafia would do, but it appears that's what she's doing. Anyway, that's it from me. Bye-bye.